Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Town of Dayton Board of Health regular meeting. We are in Old Town Hall, 1111 Somerset Avenue. This is a remote participating Zoom meeting besides being a live meeting. Public meeting being video and audio recorded for cable broadcast and internet posting on www.dayton-mass.gov and YouTube. It is Zoom meeting number 852-4921-4604. The Zoom meeting passcode is 655384. The Zoom dial-in number is 1-929-205-6099. I think we called the meeting to order, correct? You said. If everyone mind joining the pledge allegiance to the flag, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We'll begin. We've had a change in our agenda. We used to have the inspectors' reports at the end, which now they're going to be in the beginning because of the responsibility of this board and the other members who participate with this board. We could be called out at any time. So therefore, we're going to start with the health agent report, please.
Hi, good evening, Todd Pilling. COVID's starting to come back up. The numbers are on the way back up. We'll do a COVID update later on in the meeting, but construction is still fierce, for lack of a better word. Seems to be just a lot of stuff happening simultaneously, a lot of pressure on the office to get things done and to get them done quickly. We've also had a couple housing issues in the last couple weeks that have taken up large quantities of time of the office, whereas the week before that was like a stormwater was an entire week or whatever. So since the overtime came to an end, I'm finding it hard to keep up with doing stuff. But we're getting through it. The schools are starting to call and ask a lot of questions about what to do for COVID there, but the state right now is basically saying we're going to leave it up to each school to do their own thing, each town to do their own thing. The state's not going to step in and mandate a lot of stuff. The pandemic task force for Dayton met. We made our recommendations to the selectmen, and last night the selectmen have said that we're going to put up signs that encourage people to wear masks inside of town hall.
If I could just cut you off 1 second, I apologize. I think the state also said that too. They strongly encourage.
Well, it's strongly encouraged for non-vaccinated people, and it's just suggested for vaccinated people. So especially in the schools. But if you're in school, you have to wear a mask on the bus, and you have to wear one in the nurse's office. But other than that, it's recommended or strongly recommended. So, but here in town hall, it's only encouraged. And what else? Correspondence to what? So Peter Board just came to us. The prices went up for different things. For the bulky, went from $100 a ton to $110 a ton. The recycling did not change. So we took a look at the budget, and we had estimated already that the price was going to go up. We just took a guess that the price was going to go up, and so the number we have in our budget accounts for that increase. So we're okay with that. But as usual, the prices keep going up for getting rid of our trash and recycling. So that is something we will have to look at in the future. Although that's also on the agenda here somewhere about waste contract. So because Peter Borges' contract runs out next year, what do we want to do? The whole recycling IQ thing to try and get our recycling to be cleaner, and say it's a big undertaking to look at that. And CMAS, that contract's up in 2025 or something. So, but
So we have it until that long?
yeah. So there's an end game here. So we gotta kind of work towards putting it all together.
I know it's down here, but I'll wait until we get to that point.
Yeah. So basically, it's just been crazy busy in the office, and we're doing our best, and we're trying to keep up, but it's really hard to keep up because everybody wants everything immediately, so it's been hard. But I don't think I have anything else right now. I'm sure I'll think of something as we go through the meeting.
Okay. Well, we were, excuse me, while we were talking about price increases, we are planning on having a household hazardous waste day. We were planning to have it earlier this year, but our budget request did not get approved by the Finance Committee, nor the Board of Selectmen, so we will be resubmitting the request for funds to host the Household Hazardous Waste Day. Now, the meeting is not gonna be till probably end of September, October, so I'm not sure we're gonna have a day until next spring. This past year, the cost was $10,400 to host the Hazardous Waste Day. I'm gonna be requesting 20% higher than that, which would be in an area of $12,000. So hopefully that will fly by the Finance Committee and favorable recommendation with them and the Board of Selectmen. And if it comes out, if you're at the special town meeting, I would encourage you to vote in favor of that, because we're getting a lot of calls about household hazardous waste. So we don't want to see it on the side of the road. We'd rather see it done professionally with than the hazmat crew. So anyway, that was that. Animal inspector report, please.
Nothing, it's been quiet. I've had a few bites. I did one of the housing situations, we had to take an animal out of there. That animal is now residing with a relative, so that worked out well. Just normal stuff going on, but
Okay.
just as an FYI, the special town meeting's November 1st, and the warrant opened last night and closes September 9th.
Yeah, I knew when it closed. I wasn't sure when the special town meeting was.
November
That's the
Get
town
us
meeting
copies
date.
of them bites
The,
to us.
I am, it's gonna be stapled to all your reports.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on, waiting for the building commissioner to come on back. We'll get his report when he returns. Moving on to new business, to review, discuss, and act 1471 Somerset Avenue Septic Variance Request.
So this property is across the street from the police station. We did perks, the septic repair came in, they had the overdig 1 foot off the property line, and so I requested that a property survey be done, but they had to notify the abutters as part of the variance request because they're less than 10 feet. She hadn't had a property survey done yet, so they had it done, they didn't have it done in time for tonight's meeting, so she asked that they be put on the next agenda.
Okay, so we're gonna table this till our next meeting. All right,
We need the motion.
yes.
Motion to table, item 4A.
Okay, motions, I'll step down and second that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries. So that'll be on next meeting agenda. Now, 4B is to review, discuss, and act Mass DEP air sensor grant. I did read that. And I'm not sure town of Dayton will be eligible because of some of the requirements.
So just for those people at home, it came from DEP. It's a grant opportunity to receive between 5 and 10 air sensors to measure levels of fine particulate matter in the outdoor air for a year. But it's a highly competitive grant, and
Yeah, I'll read why I say that. Well, the air sensor grant program is open to all Massachusetts municipalities. Although Mass DEP is encouraging the placement of outside air sensors in communities with environmental justice populations by giving preference to these applicants. So I had to look up what environmental justice populations were. And they, a neighborhood that meets one or more of the following criteria. Number one, the annual median household income is not more than 65% of the statewide and annual median household income. 2, minorities comprise 40% or more of the population. 3, 25% or more of household lack English language proficiency. 4, minorities comprise 25% or more of the population, and the annual median household income of the municipality in which the neighborhood is located does not exceed 150% of the statewide annual median household income. Now, this can be filed, it doesn't say you can't, yes, your preferences are going. I had also, I mean, we're not, if we had, say for example, ICI, if this was 50 years ago, I would say that the town has a definite need to put some of these in the neighborhood down there around ICI. I don't really know, other than the power plant, and I think they're pretty clean. I don't know of any neighborhoods that would meet the requirement, you know, to apply for the grant. I also read that it would go through the procurement process, which is over there, rests with the town administrator. I think we should forward this to him and see if he's interested in doing it.
It came from, we got it from SDEP, but then Dr. Zagrafis sent it to us and Mike Mullen say, hey, is this something that Dayton's interested in? Which is why I put it on our agenda to talk
Okay.
about
Yeah.
it. So I'll reply to them saying that it doesn't appear that
I would
we're,
like to ask, who would be, would you need to be trained, or would you increase your hours with this? 'Cause
to monitor those things. I didn't read enough about it to know if we're the ones.
Well, they're
who-
put in a location for a year, and
But
I
do
guess-
they monitor it? Because,
yeah, it can be done through all types of media to monitor it. You can extract information from the unit, from what I'm reading. I don't know who's gonna monitor it.
yeah, because I would say right now, we're just trying to continue our work and not add to it.
Yeah.
And then you would have folks like the school saying, oh, come my way and try this and do this, and then they'll start pulling at us. And if the person's not trained properly, I remember when I had issues, I just called DEP. If I had a smoke complaint, a serious noise complaint, that's their regulation, I would send it.
Well,
up to
they're
them.
set up to handle it,
Yeah,
right, yes.
so I would just give it to them, the same thing they'd give to me, any local stuff.
The total grant for 351 municipalities is $200,000 divided up. These items go for like $250 apiece. So when I look at other communities that have huge polluters and neighborhoods that qualify, I don't really see the need in Dayton for one,
Yeah.
or 2 or 5, but it doesn't mean, again, you know, somebody couldn't apply for it. But,
I can forward that to the town administrator and let him know.
it's really amazing because further, what they would be getting
That was
is, PM 2.5, PM being particulate matter. 2.5 is the micron. Now you gotta, or less, these would pick up. A strand of hair is 70 microns. So a strand of hair is 30 times larger than this particular thing would pick up 2.5 microns. So it's very sensitive, I guess is the word.
I think what you sent me, I only saw a little snippet of, I didn't get the full.
Yes, I didn't read the whole part
Yeah.
of it
Well, I
because,
went to here and there.
Just because sometimes when you apply to a grant, you just gotta read the whole thing, because when you apply to a grant, sometimes there's expectations, and they want specifics, and if you can't meet that, so.
Yeah, and I didn't really read through a lot
I only
of
saw that
it.
first couple of sentences, and I said, well, who's gonna do this? My first question,
Yeah.
who's gonna do this?
So, he can send it over there and say,
Yeah.
if you want, and say, you know, that's, I think we can read it a little bit more, because it does talk about procurement. And we don't have staff to be writing grants.
That's it.
Would it be nice? Maybe. But
When is the application? When is it?
October 1st.
Do you think we could still,
so there's plenty of time.
can we table it till next meeting, just read this again? Or read the whole thing?
We could, yeah.
Sure.
Why don't we put it on for next meeting also?
Okay.
And just do a little more research on it. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to table 4B.
This reminds me of stormwater meeting. I'm going to, I'll step
Say
down
what
and
again?
second, the motion, item 4B. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all is in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, that carries. Want to take curbside waste contract? You did already.
Well, sort of. So basically, I just told you about the price increase, but Borges' contract is running out June of next year, June 30th of 2022. Obviously, at that point in time, we got to do something, whether it's extend the contract with him, put it out to bid again, decide do we want to do barrels instead of bags. So
Yeah.
we need to start the discussion, whether it be at a regular meeting like this, or we want to just have a separate meeting for it, or recommend this to Selectmen form a solid waste committee. I don't know, because there's a lot of stuff with household hazardous waste days seem to be needing more frequently. We get a lot of calls for bulky items outside of the 1 week of the year. Some people have said they don't like the Dighton Town bags, so we don't want to get rid of that. Some people want the barrels with the machine with the arm to pick them up. So, we can do
Some
whatever.
people want it free.
Some people want it free. Trash is one of those things that doesn't need to go out to bid, so we could just negotiate
I thought it did.
to extend the contract. Trash bags do, but not trash itself. So
I think putting something out to bid keeps people honest and fair.
it does.
So that's across the board for everyone. You make them step up to the game and say, what can you do for the town? When I used to work in Freetown, I'm gonna talk about CMAS for a second. We run out with
2025 or something.
2025.
CMAS, would you just say what
Yeah.
that means? CMAS,
It's Covanta now is
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
what it's called, but it's the Southeastern Massachusetts incinerator.
Yeah.
There you
So our trash goes to the incinerator, but in Freetown, a few years back, we actually decided to, or the board decided to go back to a landfill, Crapo Hill. So that's also an option. I don't know how you feel about either incinerator or putting things back into a landfill. The only good thing with that is, with that contract that we had, these folks actually gave us hazardous waste days for free.
Oh, yeah?
And the price was actually a little better. So it's something just to look at. You always weigh your options. Again, you have to weigh that option of, are you gonna incinerate it or put things back into a landfill? People are trying to get away from that, but obviously, things can still happen,
What
prevention in a landfill, because they catch the leachate and all that stuff. So
Okay.
it's still not terrible, but
What kind of contract did you get with them? 1 year, 3
I
years?
think it was
or-
a 5 year,
5
whatever it
year.
was. Yeah, I have to look back.
So you can see why there's a lot of moving parts to the whole thing. It's not just a simple, yeah, let's just do it. We need to decide what we want to do. And right now, the curbside is the one that's up, but CMAS is in the future, and we need to be talking about that, so.
'Cause yeah, definitely, because if you don't look, you're just gonna have to just follow along and just pay what everybody's paying. But if you don't start doing your own research,
So if we do want to put this out to bid, you're probably talking somewhere in like February-ish that we want to be getting it posted and all that, because it's going to take some time to get it in and get it voted on and all the rest of it and all that. So I just want it on the horizon. And again, whether we want to be just keeping things status quo and just put it out to bid again, or we want to just, obviously I think all three of us, you guys should be here when we vote it, but I just wanted to get it on the radar.
Did we ever send a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen that they should establish a solid waste committee?
I think we kicked it around, but I don't know if we ever voted that we wanted them to do that. Because if we did, obviously, that would be probably a better place to be discussing all this stuff that we're talking about. But I think we talked about it, but I don't think we ever voted. Do you remember? Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's well, from what I read on social media and what you hear, a lot of people may step up to the plate and volunteer for something like a solid waste committee. We can again talk about that next time real quick, you know, when Matt's here.
Because I think it would be nice to have Mike Mullen, our town administrator's input while we're having these discussions, because if we have to put it out to bid, he's involved in the bidding process, because he's
Yeah.
the procurement officer at the moment, so.
Yeah, and then when you put it out to bid, you change things, like I don't even know if we have that, Juneteenth as a holiday, but that's the time to change things.
Yeah, it's not in their
But I'm
contract.
just saying, but you
yeah.
would change a holiday, you would change this, you would add this, or whatever it is. Because if you don't, you're just kind of just moving in the same direction and falling into that rut.
Yeah, well, there would be a new contract,
Yeah.
even if we didn't put it out to bid, it would still be a new 3-year contract, so. But understandably, like you say, this is the time to change things. If we want him to start doing recycling IQ stuff and putting stickers on people's trash barrels saying why it was rejected or whatever.
Yeah.
If we want that part of his contract, we need to tell him about it, or whoever it is, sooner, yeah, so. Yeah, I feel like we need to have a
Put it
good
this way,
discussion.
I would have to tell you, he's been doing this for years, he's not the issue, it's the prices that keep going up is the issue. So, that's where we're stuck at.
Yeah, so since I started here 4 years ago, the price of curbside recycling has doubled, and the price of trash has gone up like 25%.
But see, now it's coming from CMAS, adding all these prices. I think the letter you sent me was July 1st, and I get the letter July 22nd, whatever, and I'm like, oh, thanks. So you're forced to pay. So it's tough.
Yep. So, yeah, I guess I'd say, you know, whether you want to push it to the next meeting and then say whatever we decide, but I think it's a long discussion
Yeah.
that I think we need some other parties involved in. Whether we do the solid waste committee, we do it here, I think we need other people to weigh in on it, so.
Well, you know my feeling. I think everybody should bring their trash and recycles to the transfer station, like we did years ago.
I live in Berkeley and that's what we do, but.
Yeah, and you buy bags, right? And you bring it yourself to the transfer station, and you bring your recycles to the
Are
transfer
you
station.
just throwing it over the bag of trash, throwing it into a dumpster?
Well, it's actually below you, but yeah, you're just dropping it into the roll-off, yeah. You have to sort your own, cardboard goes in this one, the plastic goes in that one, the metal in this one, the paper in that one, the bulky, the
How bad are
construction grade.
is there birds everywhere?
The what?
Is there birds everywhere? Is there flies everywhere? No?
There's like one bird that lives in the barn that.
There's not flies all over the
Correct,
place
no.
in the summertime? Uncovered trash?
But the trash is gone, they haul it away the next morning.
I'm just thinking.
Yeah, so they
I don't
haul
wanna
it away,
create, I
so,
don't wanna create a problem.
right. But no, I've never noticed that to be a problem, but.
Well, it's still gonna be in bags, but it's still gonna attract flies.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But that's a major shift in direction from where we're at right now,
Well,
so that's why I think you need more involvement than just.
No,
us
I was
doing
just,
it,
when you
so.
mentioned, I wanted to picture
Well,
it in
that's
my
why the
head.
solid waste committee would come into play, you know, and, we have our thoughts, and everybody has their own thoughts.
Would we be able to have a seat at the table at the solid waste
I would
committee?
assume there would be a member of the Board of Health there.
And I would love to volunteer for that, just to.
Well,
But you've got a lot of experience from your time in Freetown and how that was run, so.
Okay, something to look forward to.
Are we tabling this?
Yep, 4D. Review, discuss, and act, gridiron food permit fee waiver request.
How does this work? We only have 2 members.
You can still,
We can vote.
no, he can't.
I can't
Oh,
vote.
you can. When are they starting?
Give it to them every year, it's a nonprofit.
So you could give me the authority to deal with it. I say, I know we always do it and it's not a problem, it was just normally the board votes it, so. If we can't vote it tonight, I'll issue it and we can vote it retroactively.
Yeah, that's all, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Next meeting, Roz, please,
Okay.
again, another.
Wait, are we gonna finish anything tonight? Everything's being pushed to the next meeting.
I apologize, I can't do that one.
Who's gonna speak to Planet Aid? Item 4E. They're looking to put a box up at the transfer station, I understand.
These people came in to our office and handed us this flyer. They want to host a bin for, I don't know what they collect. It's clothes and shoes. And they want to host a bin at either the transfer station, town hall, fire department, or community recreation center. And the town receives 5 cents per pound for what they collect. And, yeah, so they asked. I know we do the,
Take a look at it.
yeah, I know they do the pink, we do the pink bags in town, but that is for recycling, not necessarily, you know, going back to the population. So if we were gonna consider something like this, I would say the same thing as the book bin we were talking about. I'd rather do it at the transfer station where it's behind a locked fence and they have the control times to do it. And that would be my only suggestion.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
If we do it, then it'd be at the
because
transfer
you
station.
see everything outside these bins other than clothes usually.
On a different note, if you remember, Simple Recycling was paying us a penny a pound. Then that stopped because of COVID, because of the drivers and all the troubles and everything else. They haven't started back up again, and I think we need to reach out to them and say, hey, when are you gonna start back up and honor the contract that we have with you? But it's, I mean, it's a penny a pound, but that's for recycling it, not for reusing it.
I know, yeah, because they were having difficulty, but they're still driving around picking up.
We're averaging about 3,000 pounds a month. So, still, and it's holding steady too. It's
Reach
not.
out to them,
Yeah, we can.
just say, hey, we were wondering if you wanna.
Well, I figure they were waiting for COVID, and but again, we have an agreement with them, so.
So you can give everything else to pink bags other than the good clothes, because they take pots and pans, backpacks, shoes, all kinds of things.
And they donate the good clothes. They do, they go to sell
Do
them
that?
around.
Yeah.
Well, the good stuff.
Where do you think I got this shirt? No, just kidding.
But if
Oh,
they,
I thought that was a Salvation
Oh,
Army
yeah.
shirt.
but we never, the book bin one, we haven't sent a letter to the selectmen yet, right? Yeah, we haven't had time to do that, so we could just put them both in at once, if you're inclined to do it. But you may want one at town hall, or whatever. I'm just suggesting what I
Where would this go though? Near the shed? So you can monitor it?
Yeah, that's what.
It would have to be away from the street a little ways, so yeah, probably down near the shed. Out of the way of snow plowing and all that, so.
Yeah, you guys have to figure out the best traffic area and Tom get involved, so. I'd recommend we get one bin at the transfer station.
And just so you know, we have to ask the selectmen for permission to
Yeah,
do it.
I recommend.
So.
I recommend that we send it to selectmen.
Yeah, I'll step down and second that motion.
Do you wanna see it?
Any further discussion? No. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries. Motion carries.
We passed one.
I'm glad our animal control officer is here and our animal inspector for the next item, 4F. Months ago, for various reasons, we created some kennel licensing language in our general bylaws, and it's not a problem except for those that, with residential kennels, which is 4 dogs or more. Special permit granting authority, right now is the zoning board of appeals. When I put this on here, I thought that perhaps we could become the special permit granting authority for residential kennels. Well, I was wrong, because in the state law, there are only 4 or 5 other entities that can do special permitting, and your general bylaws would have to designate, and one of those is planning board, and I forget which else. But after speaking with office manager of the planning board, I guess we're all working on eliminating special permits for residential kennels.
Yeah, and why this came up.
Get closer to the
You
microphone.
can hear me. Why this came up was the first person to get new kennel license. Anybody that's been licensed before is grandfathered. But a new kennel license, a new kennel in town, ended up over COVID getting another Great Dane. And I says, oh, I've never been there before, you're new, you need to go through this because we just passed this bylaw. She called me crying because it was gonna cost her over $1,000 to get a kennel license for her residential kennel. And I said to her, I said, listen, let's see what we can do. I mean, I have told people to ask the ZBA if they go in front of the ZBA to waive the fees, but it's just an exorbitant amount for a residential kennel, because most of these people have 4 dogs or 5 dogs in their house. It's not like it's a boarding kennel. A boarding kennel or a breeding kennel, I think, should be special permitted with an amount of almost $1,000, because they're making money off of what's going on. But somebody that has 5 chihuahuas in their house shouldn't have to pay the same as somebody that's breeding and making money.
In my conversation with her, after discussing it, and this is just me, not the boards, but I would tend to agree that a residential kennel does not need a special permit. However, my thought, why I was hesitant, was because if you got 5 or 6 beagles or hounds up in a 100 by 100 lot in the village, and they're barking all night, then that becomes a problem.
It does, but as I told our town administrator when we talked about this, if that was happening, I would know. And then I would that would be something completely different. We do have a beagle kennel. Nobody ever complains about it because it's down on 138, nobody hears it. But any dog complaint, a barking complaint, doesn't matter what time of night, I get a call. So I know those problem areas, and most of the ones only have 1 or 2 dogs. But if I could go to neighbors of some of these people, and they never knew they had 5 dogs in the house. Because they're just indoors, and they go outside to potty and come back in. So I do hear the complaint, so I would know if that was a problem, and that would be something different. That would be something different. But most of the people that hold kennel licenses in this town right now just have 4 or more dogs that fall into that category.
Yeah, and we have after thinking about it, we have the nuisance bylaw, which we could enforce if we had to.
Right.
What's the lot size then? 4 more dogs at...
Well, see, with this, there was a lot size, but, I mean, somebody that has dogs that basically stay in the house, they walk their dogs, they have to be on leashes. So it's not like they really need a huge lot. But if you're breeding or boarding, you need to have specific land for that. And I do agree, they need a special permit. They need something that says that they've paid it and they have their business licenses and all that kind of stuff. But I have a hard time, maybe it's just me, going to somebody, knocking somebody's door that has 5 chihuahuas in the house and saying, you need a special permit, and I know it's gonna cost you at least $1,000. So which means I'm gonna have people that aren't stepping up and doing the right thing because they don't want to pay the price.
But just for the people at home, that $1,000 you're talking about is the filing fee for the zoning board for a special permit.
Right, and.
No running in the paper,
yeah,
it's not just,
No.
that's what the cost is,
it's for
yeah.
everything.
I'm just worried about the complaints with the
Yeah,
barking
I
dogs and...
understand that. But technically, this is no longer within our jurisdiction because
Not at all.
it's animal control and the kennels come under them. When I first put this on here, I felt that if we were to do the special permits, we could do it for free at a regular meeting. No charge other than, inspection fees and whatnot. But since I've learned that we cannot be special permit granting authority at all, this is a moot issue.
Yep.
And besides that, it's out of our jurisdiction.
So when this thing comes for the zoning board, are you contacted that day?
I'm supposed to be. None has come in front of the zoning board.
So the filing fee seems to deter most people,
Right.
so.
The filing fee deters most people.
Did the zoning board, do they ever notify you of any other things as well, like,
Yeah,
somebody
we,
put in an addition and some?
yeah, we get a lot of things from the planning board and the zoning board for comments to weigh in on. So, yeah, Kerry's been very good, and Jonathan before
That's what
her
it
were
should
very
be.
good.
Right, they should,
Something
because-
should be circulating, and
Right.
especially if a kennel comes by, they should say, hey, what do you think?
Well, I know part of the online permitting system that the building inspector wants all departments, including conservation, Board of Health, Planning Board, and Zoning Board to be on. It would involve an electronic sign-off on all these, and you can put your comments right in so everybody can see them. But we're not there yet. But we're getting there.
Now, you're only talking about amending the residential kennel.
Yes, only the residential, because I have, as I said, with the kennels that are boarding or are breeding, they're making money off of that, so they should have a special permit, and they're gonna have different dogs in and out, and mothers and babies and that kind of stuff. That's all different than somebody that just has 4 or 5 dogs in their house.
What do you actually do if some dog just keeps barking, won't stop?
We have that
Fines?
problem.
Is there fines?
We have that problem at Waterford Circle, and it goes good for a little while, and then I'll get a call, and I take the dogs right out of the yard, because they're right in their yard, outside, bring them in the kennel, I make them pay for an overnight in the kennel, and it's good for a little while, and then somebody forgets to let them in, or they fall asleep, and we're back out there 2 o'clock in the morning, I take the dogs again. Last time it happened, I was away, so they spent the night up in Rehoboth.
Same dog?
Same 2 dogs.
So,
All right, so there's a mechanism to
Yes,
either, to get compliance.
yes.
yeah, we could do a nuisance complaint enforcement.
Yeah,
Bring 'em in
just
at
because
night.
that'd be the worst,
Does
for
he
a neighbor
normally,
to
the
be,
person normally bring 'em in at
dealing
night?
with that.
As I said, we do good for months, and then somebody they both fall asleep early, or one's working and one falls asleep. I don't know how you can't hear those dogs barking, but we knock on the door, we ring the bell, nobody answers. Sometimes we can wake somebody. If we can't, I just take the dogs, and they call me in the morning and say, "You got my dogs?" And I go, "Yes, I do." and they pay it every time that happens.
2 dogs, $50,
Yep.
right?
So
Overnight stay at the,
Little hotel visit.
yeah. All right, so I think we can move on from that. It's, I just want to put it out there for the people who may be watching. Carrie said that she had 3 inquiries about a special permit for the residential kennel. And she told them to ask for a reduced fee, which probably would have been okay. But none of the 3 that inquired have filed an application. So, and to what you were saying.
right.
So we have, what we have now is people not in compliance, and, so I just as soon do it, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel.
So do we want to make a recommendation to the zoning board that they set a fee that's much less for a residential kennel?
Well, once the bylaws change, they won't be going to zoning board of appeals, right?
Right, we're trying to get it.
For this meeting,
Yeah, but don't-
fall meeting?
We're trying, but I was told I probably should wait until the annual because of the controversy of the flag thing that's coming up at the special.
So there'll be a lot of people there.
Yes, there will be, and they're afraid that this would be a controversy too, but I don't think it will be, because I just want to get rid of the old,
Yeah, why
rescind
would it
the
be a
old bylaw.
We're
and-
saving people money.
Right, so I don't think mine will be a controversy.
No, I would try to.
You know how
get
many
it on
dogs are in every home anyways, is when they, well, supposedly, when they license their dog.
Right, and see, what sends up the red flag is, people go, how did you know I had 4 more dogs in my house? Because the vet sends us the records, or are supposed to, and so we know. A lot of my people that aren't in compliance right now are people that have 4 or more dogs.
Okay. Moving on, what do you want to talk about, contact tracing? Item number 4G.
All right, so as I mentioned before, COVID numbers are on the rise. This is the Delta variant generally, but not always entirely. It's hitting mostly unvaccinated people, but not entirely. The number 1 group getting it is like 20 to 29-year-olds. But the problem we have is back when the state of emergency ended in June, we were no longer authorized to do contact tracing, which was fine because the numbers were down, and so our nurse was taking care of it. But the caseload is picking up because she does 4 towns. Same discussion we had last October. we were at about, what, 1 case a day for the last 2 weeks. Now we're at like 3 cases a day, so it's going up. But when Laurie couldn't handle it, the nurse, she was sending him to the CTC, the state, and Matt had said that's what he was doing in Rainham. Everything was going to the CTC. Well, back on June 15th, when COVID kind of ended and the number of cases went down, they got rid of all their employees at the CTC.
CTC is what now?
Contact
Tracing Collaborative.
Contact Tracing Collaborative.
Okay, just
So,
to
yep,
clarify
yep.
for,
Thank you. So they got rid of all their employees because the case numbers are down. Now that the cases are on the way back up, they don't have employees to keep up with it. So they're going to be hiring and training, but it takes a couple weeks to get there. So all the cases that Laurie's been sending to him, we got a call this morning from CTC saying all those cases you sent us, we're giving them all back to you. So they sent 10 cases back to us. Plus we have 10 in there from yesterday, the last, 3 days that we haven't done anything with yet. So we've got 20 cases right now that nobody's contacted yet. And Laurie's on vacation next week. So her backup was CTC, but CTC's not here. So what do we want to do?
CTC's not there?
They said 2 weeks before they will take another case because they don't have the
So
staff to do
how
it.
many towns and communities are in the same,
351.
exactly? And do they have people trained in contacting these people?
Well, every town should have somebody. Like ours was Laurie. Rainham had Matt. Berkeley also was Matt. But right,
He was sending them to CTC.
he was sending them to CTC. So right now every town. But again, the caseload wasn't too bad, so it's been okay to keep up with. But we're a small town. You go into a bigger town, obviously they're getting 1-3 cases a day. So, but
She's working.
Did you bring that up last night?
well, we didn't know the CTC threw him back until this morning when we got the phone call. So I did bring it up that because they asked if we were doing Roz and I were doing the contact tracing, and I said no, you stopped us from doing that, and our nurse has been doing it, but she's getting to the point where she can't keep up, and they didn't like engage and pursue it any further. So Roz and I are both trained to do this. When we did this before, the CARES Act was paying for overtime for us to be doing it, and therefore it was okay. At this point in time, CARES Act is still through December 31st and would still pay for it, but obviously we would need authorization for her, and I'm gonna say right now that I'm not gonna do it unless it's premium pay, which is time and a half, because it was all straight time for me last year.
Roz is not gonna do it either.
For overtime?
They're not gonna give us overtime for that.
No, they're not, So CARES Act will only pay for it if it's overtime. They will not pay for straight time. So that means this board
Well,
has
I
to.
think Monday I'm gonna have to talk to Mike and see what they wanna do.
Right, because obviously we could do contact tracing right now as part of our hours in the week, but I already can't keep up. I'm already behind in everything that
Both of
I'm
you are
doing.
way behind our still.
So I really can't afford to be doing it, but if you say, if this
They-
board
they
says,
don't care
this is most
about-
important and we want you doing it, then we'll do that.
Right.
But,
It seems like they don't care about what's going on in the Board of Health.
so I know we're on their agenda for next Wednesday to talk about other stuff, the Manit, which, briefly I'll just mention that the town administrator wanted to use, there's money out there from that ARPA fund, the American Recovery Act, whatever it is. They want us to regionalize positions, and one of the positions would be possibly the town nurse. Well, we met with Manit, and Manit is like a community health center. They do not do contact tracing, but they will do vaccinations. So it doesn't help us at all with the contact tracing if we were to regionalize with them. But
And they don't do Maven.
Is Laurie's on vacation next week?
next week, so she's here tomorrow, but then she's gone.
Could she do a few calls tomorrow?
She already takes a few every day. She does do a few, but she can't do
So
them
how long
all.
does a call take? Just give or take. I know with me it was like a half. Minute.
So,
Right?
right, so if I call you and, I can take your information, I then have to enter it all into Maven, but I then have to call all of your contacts. So if it's your wife and kids, I can talk through you to deal with them, so the conversation takes a little longer. If I gotta talk to Tom because you sat next to him for more than 15 minutes tonight, and then I gotta talk to him, and then his wife will call and ask questions, and it's not always the same, but you're talking 20 to 30 minutes is what it takes to do one case.
I'm gonna get some clarity Monday morning and see.
But then you have to call them all back in,
I'm just saying if you can
Whatever,
reach out to Laurie to see
so-
if she can lighten the load for next week, and then if possible, make 1 or 2 calls, and then Tom. In the meantime, Tom will talk to
I'll talk to him Monday.
Yeah.
I say she does what she can, but she had 24 cases that CTC sent back to her this morning from her 4 towns. Dayton was the biggest one of the 4 towns. So
Those numbers are wrong, right?
as
No,
a ge-
we're gonna get there.
so I wanted the board to be aware that
But then they will take over though, right, CTC?
and supposedly in 2 weeks they'll have the staff to do it, is what they told Laurie this morning. So it's only for 2 weeks that we're talking about here, I guess. But CTC right now is taking 5 to 7 days to call people.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
No, the cases that they get.
But besides that, they're gonna have to do their job.
No, I understand. I'm just letting you know that it's 5 to 7
If they're
days.
not worried about it and they're waiting that long, then,
Yeah, that's how I looked at it.
yeah.
Right.
So
So
then we're jumping through hoops. I know you guys are.
no, but it's what you guys
conscientious and
want
wanna
us to
the
do.
right thing.
What was extended, the CARES Act or ARPA?
CARES Act always ran through December 31st. It was the state of emergency that ended on June 15th.
Oh, okay, so it's no
And
state of
ARPA
emergency.
hasn't come out yet. The applications are supposed to be out by September 1st. And that runs for the next 5 years through 2026 for us to
Okay.
spend that money.
I'll call Laurie too. I'll just say, hey,
Oh,
what's
until
the
I
game
get
plan?
clarification
Yeah.
Monday, I mean, the state don't care.
yeah, I'll just say, hey, what's the game plan? She says, oh, I come back,
Yeah, I
I'll
know.
bang these out, whatever it is. So if they're gonna wait that long too,
So, yeah, it's whatever the preference of the board is. We wanted direction because obviously,
Seems to me they'd be able to bring back those people that they hired, that they let go.
yeah,
yes.
they'll be like on call.
Well, they did suggest that at Tuesday's call that they were gonna try and bring back people that were trained, but they still have to now get them re-put back into Maven because it's been more than 30 days, so they're out of the system.
Yeah, a lot of them are students and.
Well, gee, isn't that too bad?
So they gotta put them all back in the system and train them, because it's a new variant, so it's a new sets of questions now that you have to ask, so, yeah,
Well, they can work overtime, do that.
so. Whatever the board wants us to do, that's what we're gonna do, so.
Well, until Monday, nothing.
Yep, no, I
So you're
wasn't,
not working tomorrow anyway?
not on
I'll
purpose.
reach out to Laurie and I'll say, can you just bang out a bunch before you go on vacation?
So right now there's 20 cases, so,
She gets paid for it, so.
she does. But she's also got 3 other towns that is in the same boat, so. No, she's trying. And then the problem is if she talks to somebody today, she has to call them back in about 5 to 7 days, which is in the middle of her vacation, to release them so they can go back to work. But, yeah. So that's where we're at.
So
Okay.
Monday you'll talk to Mike?
Matter of fact, I'm gonna send them a text, request a meeting Monday, and tell them what's going on.
I gotta watch that meeting from
Are they
yesterday
gonna authorize overtime or what?
for a couple of weeks, maybe.
Yeah, overtime over 28.
Right. For overtime, I'll make the calls to get through the 2 weeks until CTC can take it all back.
Okay,
Unless the town wants us to keep doing it, but that's,
yeah, we're not getting reimbursed, right?
well, it's CARES, so you just send in the slips, I guess. I don't know, we'd have to talk to the accountant for how they did. I believe it was after the fact is when they put in for it. It wasn't ahead of time.
So CARES will still pay for it, even though
December
we're not in
30
a state of
Through
emergency.
December 31st of this year, CARES is reimbursing for contact tracing.
Okay,
For overtime.
For premium pay, yes, for overtime. Not for straight time. If you hired a new employee to come in and do it, they would pay them for straight time, but because we're existing employees, they only pay for overtime. Because it's above and beyond your regular job. Which is why my 28 to 35 hours, when we got to the end of the fiscal year, the town had to pay that money because CARES wouldn't because it was straight time. But if I had been paid overtime for that last year, then the CARES would have paid for it and the town wouldn't have had to, so. But that was last year.
okay. If we do this, you'll do your regular, Board of Health duties, and then make calls at the end of the day or whatever it takes to get it done. Okay, and, but I'll find out Monday.
Yeah, there was discussion last night at the selectmen meeting, because they asked for a COVID update from the pandemic task force, which myself, the building commissioner, the fire chief, and the town administrator are the 4 members of. And so I was asked questions about the numbers and some of the reporting on it last night, but we didn't get into any detail on it, so I'd like to follow up with the selectmen on where they were going with those numbers too, so. Because every week we send them an update, we tell them exactly how many cases, at what ages, and who's been vaccinated, at what age group, and all that. Town of Dayton right now is 52% vaccinated.
What's the percentage of cases?
The positivity rate, we're at, I think the state average is 2 and we're at 4%,
Wow.
so.
And how many cases now in Dayton?
Currently, like, that we're actively managing,
Yeah,
was like, what, 7 last week, 7 the week before, and we've already had 10 this week, so it's probably somewhere around 24 active cases.
and we
No.
get that information from DPH, is that correct?
Yes. Now, just for the record, last October was 1 case a day, which is where we were at the last 2 weeks. It went up to 7 cases a day,
Okay.
was the peak. We were getting about 49, 50 a week. So we're heading in that direction. Obviously, I'm not expecting us to get back to that same number, but the trend is there on the upswing, so.
So to the best of your knowledge, since the numbers have come from Department of Public Health, you have a assumption that they're accurate.
I have no other information to
There's no other
base it on.
source of information
Right, that's the only source.
other
we
than
have.
Department of Public Health and CDC, right?
It's, well, not I guess it's Maven is where we're getting, the DPH reports them on their website, but Maven is where we see the actual
Right.
case names and do our reporting from that.
But
So,
they come from DPH.
yeah, so they're all part of the same. Maven is the system, it stands for Massachusetts,
Epidemiology,
yes, Epidemiological Network.
Virology and Epidemiology
Yeah,
Network.
so,
What, Maven?
yeah,
Massachusetts Virtual Epidemiology Network.
virtual.
This
Okay.
guy's the bomb.
So that's
It's a
where all
platform
the
that
cases
you
are.
guys use.
Did I hear a chuckle back there?
In case anybody else is watching, that's me.
Laura is.
All right. Looking at 5A, B, and C, they're requesting to reschedule some of the workshops that we were looking at. I'm not sure how it was set up in the first place. Could we do 2, maybe at one time? The tobacco one, I think, is gonna be long.
We can't really do it without knowing Matt's schedule.
Oh, that's right, okay.
His
But-
schedule is so
Yeah, so
tight.
this was scheduled, but we ended up going to that meeting,
Yeah.
at Bristol County about the ARPA grant funds and how they could be used, so, that was why they were postponed last time.
Okay.
So does the board wanna authorize, office staff to coordinate with the members individually to set up a date?
We do.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to 5D. I think we just did it a moment ago, okay. That 5D was to review, discuss, and act COVID-19 updates. We just discussed that a few minutes ago. Okay, the next 2 items, 5E and F, are relative to the health agent job description and employment contract. We were supposed to meet last night with the Board of Selectmen to discuss at least duties and responsibilities of the Board of Health. But on our meeting Monday with the town administrator, he had asked us, well, he didn't ask us, he canceled the meeting for us on the 11th because of the potential of, what are those people's names?
Man,
Yes. Due to the potential that Manet, who we've already discussed, I don't know what Manet means.
I have no idea.
It's a community health center. They've got an office in Taunton and.
Yeah, it's a community health center anyway. To see if that would impact some of the functions that we were gonna do. But if you listened to us earlier when we discussed that, our feeling at this point, and I don't know what your opinion may be, Mr. Bernardo, but they don't do Maven, they won't do contact tracing, they won't do any investigations for a contagious disease within town.
They help with flu clinics, vaccination clinics, and COVID vaccination clinics, and they also provided physician advisory.
Yeah,
So just so you know, with the flu clinic, all you have to do is call Walgreens.
that's
or
right.
Rite Aid,
Well, that's what the fire department does now.
say, can you come over here and we'll bring what? Coffee and water? And you don't have to
Yeah.
do anything. They do everything. But it's a
Absolutely.
good time when you're there to give out some tick information, some other stuff. So we have our nurse checking blood pressure, whatever it is, additional health information. So if they supply that, anybody supplies that.
Say the fire department right now calls CVS, and that's how they.
I used to have a nursing service like that in Freetown as well, and it seemed to me that the investigation follow-ups with the tick-borne disease seemed to drag out. We're always getting billed, and then when I hired our nurse, we explained, this is your budget, you have to work within that budget, and it was more efficient. So we were within our budget, and we weren't always going over. So if they're looking to tighten the budget a little bit, I think this is the wrong way to go.
Yeah, and after discussion, the office manager, myself, and health agent discussed it, and we felt that there's really nothing that they're gonna do for us that will help us get out of the hole, and it would just be a waste of money, but that's not for us to say.
Yeah.
So, anyway, long story short, we are meeting on the 18th, I hope.
At this moment, we are supposedly on the agenda.
Yeah,
Yes.
to discuss, well, as they put it on their agenda, the future of the Board of Health. I don't really know what that means. It doesn't sound good, but we will be there on the 18th.
Well, I'm gonna put together some notes. I'll give it to either Roz or Todd, because I'm on vacation next week. So,
Okay.
but,
So-
just some ideas, already talked about transfer station.
We really can't act on, what is that, item 5H? 2, so, DEF rather, I guess. A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay.
Building commissioner.
Building commissioner's back, so if we could hear his report, please.
Put you on the spot.
You don't have a report?
Wow.
But thank you for giving me the opportunity, sir.
Well, hey. You can think about it, because we got a few more minutes to
Just in case.
We have moving on to correspondence. We have a letter from a concerned parent regarding students in mass.
So, in the last couple weeks, we've actually received more than one letter from concerned parents about students and masks. It also came up at the school committee meeting recently. It appears that a fair majority, I can't want to say majority, several members of the school committee are not happy with the way the Board of Health is handling the whole COVID thing. And a lot of people think the Board of Health is responsible for why the kids were wearing masks in the schools, and they think that we're the ones asking for the kids, making the kids wear masks in schools, and they're asking that we not do it because it's not safe for the kids. Obviously, we talked about it earlier, right now the state is just encouraging it, or they're suggesting it, they're making it mandatory on buses and in the nurse's office. And I want to make it clear, this Board of Health has not asked for any regulations above and beyond what the state has mandated.
Yeah, I watched Governor Baker speak the other day, and I had heard him specifically say strongly recommend, but that's just a recommendation.
Right. But this board has never voted to enact regulations stricter than what the state has ever done. All we've ever done is enforce those regulations and guide the schools for how to meet those regulations. But Yeah, I mean, remember with the prom, and it was, it was recommended that they maybe postpone it until after we got to, but, like I say, obviously, you can't please all the people all the time, but we've gotten letters asking that we not have any regulations asking for the kids, making the kids wear masks in school.
Should we read that letter?
I really don't.
One's short, one's really long.
One's really, really long,
Okay.
Like 2 pages.
Yeah,
and there isn't a pause in there anywhere, so it would take a little while, but.
Okay.
yeah, one's
She
really.
doesn't request that we read it at the meeting, correct?
No.
Or he, whoever it is.
Please consider all this information when making your decisions on updating the mask mandates in Dayton.
Oh, we don't make those decisions, as you just said, right?
Right, well, I think a lot of people felt that it was the Board of Health that was mandating these things, and that's why so tonight we are not when you guys are not saying, hey, let's have a regulation more strict than the state and mandating masks anyway.
We'd never do that.
Well, you could,
We could.
but you're,
But we're put in a tough situation, like, again, when you mentioned
We
the
could,
prom,
but
when you
we would
mentioned the
never.
prom, obviously, we're in big numbers there, and all of a sudden, they asked us, hey, can we have the prom? And you're like, well, is it the best time? Can you think outside the box? So obviously, we're put in a tough situation. Now, schools rolling out, other towns, other cities are mandating this. We haven't done that. We're saying the same thing, I'm saying the same thing. Encourage you to wear the mask, obviously you have to wear it on the bus, and where else did you say?
the nurse's
The
office.
nurse's office. I'm all hoping, if I was a teacher, I'd wear a mask, depending, right? If you had a group full of kids, and so really, it's to the individual, if they're gonna wear it or not, but, it's strongly recommended.
You might want to consider a face shield also, instead of a mask, since they're not mandated, some type of protection.
Yep.
If you feel like you need to be protected. So,
So we can reply to both of these people, or I think there's actually there's more than that, and just let them know that at this time, the Board of Health is not, we never have during COVID, and we are not at this time enacting any regulations more stringent than the DPH.
sounds good.
Okay.
Number 7, any public input? Is there a motion to approve the minutes of July 8th, 2021?
Did we have 2 of them, right?
Nope, just one.
Just one.
You made the change? I'll make the motion to approve July 8 meeting minutes.
Step down and second the motion. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Motion carries. Jim, Commissioner, is there anything you want to say now? No?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion's been made, I'll second the motion to adjourn. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries, and we are adjourned, and thank you, everyone.